All right, we're recording. How you doing today, Eric?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Thanks for joining me on the podcast, man. It's always an honor when somebody comes from a different city
Yes,
or somewhere other than Lansing to do the podcast because it shows me that I'm getting out there and I'm slowly making waves.
that's right. Thank you so much for having me on too. I definitely appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Your story sounds riveting. You lost a lot of weight. You were over 550 pounds, correct?
Correct.
And then what are you at now?
Right now, I am currently at 190.
Wow,
Yeah,
that is insane.
yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I mean, just going through that process of getting your mind together first, and
Mhm.
then just going for it.
I would imagine that it's a thing of like getting your mind right, but then when you're that big, it's got to be so difficult as well. Like it's not just like mind over matter. It's also the physicality of it. Like just trying to like just like struggle through it, I guess.
It was tough. It was tough. I'm gonna be honest with you. There were times where of course, you just want to just quit. You're like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Then you ask yourself that same question, like, okay, how did I get here in the first place?
Mm,
So you ask yourself that question. I'm like, okay, so if I do quit, I mean, I would never get to the point to where I need to be. So that's where I was at, man. In my mind, I'm like, okay, I know I could do much better than what I'm doing now. So I needed to buckle down and really just get to that point to where I really wanted to be.
how did you? What do you think got you to that point?
Actually, I lost my job. I lost my job, and man, it was tough. Just didn't have any income coming in.
Where did you
Uh,
work?
I was in wireless communications
Okay.
at that previous time, so the position was actually pretty good. I was kind of climbing up the mountain, the ladder a little bit as far as with my career. So I got to the point to where I was like, okay, I could see some growth. And when they laid me off, it was just like, oh man, here we go. You know,
Oof.
yeah, it was tough. It
How
was
long ago
tough.
was that?
That was probably about 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, it was about 10 years. But when you're married and you're trying to provide, you're trying to
Right.
provide. So you get to that point to like, okay, here we go. I have to do something. I have to do something. But nothing actually came through. You talk about sending out resumes. You talk about trying to get in touch with people, contacts, and thinking, like, okay, something should come through shortly.
Yeah.
And nothing really came through, man. So it put you into a state of depression.
Now you're from the Detroit area,
I am.
correct? How difficult what is the economy like there? I mean, because like here in Lansing, the auto industry is big. I mean, you have some insurance companies, you have the state of Michigan, you have MSU, like,
Mhm.
some of those businesses. So that's kind of like our local economy. So like the economy revolves around mainly, I guess, the auto industry.
True.
What about Detroit? What is or your Livonia area? That's where you're from,
That's
correct?
well, I'm from Detroit, but I
Okay.
live in Livonia right now. But yeah, it's pretty much the same. I mean, growing up in Detroit, Motor City,
Yeah.
capital. So you have your big three. You have your big three. Ford, Chrysler, GM, and the economy in Detroit now is actually probably doing better than years ago. So you see the growth. You go downtown, you see the growth. You see, especially when the Pistons and the Lions moved
Mm,
back,
yeah.
built the stadium. So you see a lot of growth throughout the city. You see a lot of when you see the cranes going up. Condos, homes, brand
Yeah.
new homes. You're talking about 3, 4, $500,000 homes.
Wow.
So it's looking good. The city is looking real good right now.
We went down there around Christmas time. They had the I don't remember what it's called. It was like a park, and then you could go in. It was free, and they had
Mhm.
like just different winter event like things for kids to do and stuff.
Probably Beacon Park, if I'm not
It was
mistaken.
right downtown.
Yeah.
They had like the ice skating rink, and then they had like
Oh
a whole
yeah.
like shopping thing set up, and
Mhm.
it was pretty cool. Like there was a lot of people there, and I'm like, man, this feels like it's hustle and bustle down here. Like this is what's happening.
Yeah, you can see it. I mean, you can see it. Corporations are moving back to the city. Like I said, you can see the growth. It looks good. I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not sure how old you are, but did you ever witness any of the Detroit and like the auto industry moving out of there and how it kind of just fell apart?
Sure. Yeah, I was actually just growing up in the city, you saw the ups and downs. You
Yeah,
saw how the city was up at one point, growing up, and then you saw the decline. So now you can actually see that, the increase, people moving back to the city. It's exciting. It's exciting to see people moving back to the city and just to see the growth.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's always a shame to see something like so significant just crumble.
Right.
And you can witness that when you drive through and see some of the old neighborhoods and everything. It's like,
The crazy part is when you do drive through some of the older neighborhoods and you're like, man, you see a lot of uh, new things that are just popping up.
mm,
I've seen churches that have turned into coffee shops.
oh wow,
You see a lot of different things that are very unique. Things of that nature. So
right.
it's interesting just to see how these, uh, just the thought process and see how people are really just coming back to the city and they're spending a lot of money.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool, and it's promising for people that live there.
Yes.
Now, did you end up finding something, a better job at a point, another point?
Well, right now I'm an educator, so I'm in
Okay.
teaching and it's fun. I'm at the point now to I don't really look at uh, the corporate dollar amount.
The teaching doesn't pay, right?
It's not in that same bracket. It's definitely not in that same bracket. But on the other hand, you look at it, you're like, I'm educating um, young kids. Definitely more so young African American kids, and I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time with them. They enjoying me as far as just building relationships
Yeah.
with the kids, with the parents, and just getting them to learn. To learn and to be able to be successful in this life.
Yeah, absolutely. That I
Mhm.
mean, being a teacher is one of the most beneficial things that you could do as a for young people. I mean,
Yes,
because like some of the most influential people in my life have been teachers, people that had taught me like through high school, and still to this day, some of the lessons they taught me still stick with me.
that's true, man. I mean, I've seen it growing up. My mom retired as a
Oh, okay.
teacher, counselor, Detroit Public Schools. So
Wow.
I kind of got that background. I got the itch. I was
Right.
like, okay, well, let me just go in this direction. And so far, so good.
Very cool, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's cool when you can influence people,
Yes,
when you can be that positive reinforcement in their lives, because you don't know what they're going through at home.
that's true.
And sometimes when they come to your class, that's an escape from reality.
So true. That is so true. And what I try to do is when I come in, I just try to make sure I'm that positive force.
Yeah.
Just come in and excited to learn. Like, look, this is what we're gonna do today, and just kind of go from there. Let the day go, and if there's complications that come up throughout the day, we just let it go and see how we can fix it.
Well, I could imagine if they hear about your story, it's got to be extremely inspiring to them to know that you don't have to give up on anything
That's true. Yeah,
and you
that's true.
can overcome whatever it is.
That's so true. Kids nowadays are a little different than what they were when I was growing up. But
How so?
man, I mean, they could be tough on you.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Kids are pretty tough. I know we were tough. Just
Right,
coming up, but yeah, kids nowadays they're kind of tough. So you have to kind of match that same energy, except
right,
in a positive way.
right.
Yeah.
Um, at what point did you start your weight loss journey, and how did you manage to lose all that weight?
I started, man. I saw my wife and her girlfriends, and they were doing 5Ks and
Oh wow,
having fun. I was just like, man, this looks like fun. I need to get myself together.
it's funny
You
you
know,
said that. It's like fun.
I was like, this. All right, right. And it's funny now because see now I can do a 5K. You know, it doesn't take a lot of effort to do it now.
Right,
So
right.
I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, this. They look like they're having fun. They're excited. I said, I really, really need to try to get to that point to where I can do this. So it kind of started from that point. But even after that, for me personally, I just had to, again, get my mindset. I literally got off of social media for 2 years. I had to,
Wow.
to really focus like, okay, so God, where do you want me to go with this? What
Yeah.
do you want me to do that I can not only benefit me, but inspire other people to be able to, be in the best shape of their life. So, I mean, I even looked at myself the other day. I tried on my Letterman jacket from high school. It's too big,
Wow.
So, I mean, I'm just, and then
So were you always a big
I was
guy?
always kind of on the,
Okay.
on the bigger side, but never to that, to the 550. Actually, it was more than 550. It was like 562 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So when you get to that point in life, man, it's like, and then I was on crutches. I was on crutches for 5.5 years. Those
Wow.
crutches were literally my legs.
Whoa.
Um, just being able to get to that point and not being able to do anything.
Yeah.
You're in the smoke, you're in the house all the time, and the walls just continuously were caving in. Um, and just didn't see any light at the tunnel.
Mm.
So, like I said, it started in the mind. I cut off social media for 2 years. Just really just kind of got myself focused. Like, okay, it's going to be a challenge, but you're going to have to go through it. At that point, that's when I did the gastric bypass surgery, because even at that, I mean, I'm like, what, 5'7" to 5'8",
Right.
so I'm
Right.
not tall,
Yeah.
and there was just a lot of pressure on my joints. You had, like I said, both knees replaced, left hip replaced.
Wow.
So I've had a lot of work done.
Wow.
Yeah.
This was prior to you losing all that weight?
Yeah, well, either going through the weight loss surgery,
Yeah.
I had to first I had to find an actual doctor that can do the surgery.
Is it difficult to?
I mean, you have to do your research. You have
Yeah.
to do your research, 'cause I mean, there's a lot of good doctors out here, so you want to make sure that you match up with the one that's right for you. Because the first time, I think I went to about 3 or 4 different doctors.
Okay.
I did the whole consultation, the 3-4 hour, uh, workshops that they have. They were all good. But at the end of the day, you just want to know. Your question is, how many patients have you lost on that table?
Oof.
That's really the bottom line.
Yeah. What was
So,
their answers?
um, a couple of them said 3, 4. I mean, regardless, just the percentage, you just
What is the risk? Like
the
what?
risk. At that point, it depends. Well, of course, it depends on how many surgeries they've actually
Perform
done
right.
compared to how many patients they've lost. So, but each year, I'm sure technology, everything gets better,
Right.
through time. So, it was just something, like I said, I had to find out. And then even with some of those doctors, they were like, "Hey, can you lose 50 pounds? Can you lose 75 pounds?" I'm like, "Well, no, if I could do that, I probably wouldn't be here right now." If I could get to that point, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So I had to find that specific doctor that had the knowledge, the background, the expertise.
Right.
So I found that particular doctor, and he's like, "Eric, let's do it." I said, "Okay, let's go for it." I prayed about it. And I was like, "All right, let's go." And it took some time. You have to go through the process. You got to go through the psychiatric valve. You got to go through all that. You got to go through
Yeah.
the testing. All that
Right.
different type of stuff.
Right.
So it worked out. It worked out.
So I had Chris Murphy on the podcast,
Mm,
and he had talked about how when he had the surgery, he needed to. I think he said he had to lose some weight,
okay.
but he ended up losing like 130 pounds or something like that.
Okay.
And I was like, if you could do that, why
Yeah.
would you have the surgery?
Yeah.
But his answer was that he didn't trust himself, and
Mm,
he knew that if he had lost all that weight, that his mental health wasn't quite there to where he feels like he would fall back into it.
yeah. And I've had that problem once before, even prior to the surgery. I mean, I lost weight, gained it back, gained even more.
Right.
So again, it's all a mental. Everything is in your mind,
Yeah.
and really just staying motivated. Because even though I'm at the point to where I'm just maintaining right now, you still got to stay motivated, because
Yeah.
it's so easy to, just okay, I'm just going to go here and grab something to eat real quick. You
Right.
still have to keep in mind,
Yeah.
you still got to be mindful of the
Yeah.
foods that you eat. So
How do you stay motivated? What kind of things do you do to help motivate yourself?
I listen to shows like yours. I, definitely do different podcasts, different motivational speeches.
That definitely helps you be the best you could possibly be, right? When you are having to kind of be in the forefront of other people.
Yes.
You obviously wrote a book, and so like if you're giving a speech or you're on a podcast, you kind of have to like be living proof of your story.
True. Yeah,
So
that's
like if
true.
you were to show up at 350 pounds, people would be like, "What's he talking
They
about?"
were like, yeah, okay.
I find that when I because like one of the big things I talk about on the podcast is like fitness and like
Hmm.
just being in shape and those kind of things. So like that helps motivate me because I'm like, I can't get fat.
Yeah,
If I get fat, people aren't going to listen to me.
exactly, exactly. And the other thing too that motivates me too is when you see when you're working out and you may not think you're doing much. You're like, okay, I'm doing this and yeah, I'm going through this process every day. I'm going to the gym, things like that. I've started swimming,
Oh wow.
and even when you do it, you're like, okay, it's just okay. But when other people start noticing, they're
Mm.
like, I can tell, and I'm like, oh, okay, so let me just keep going. Let me keep
Right,
this thing
right.
going. So it really that motivates you as well, just to keep moving.
And when somebody sees you like that, you don't realize how that helps other people.
Hmm.
Like you just think it's like you're just doing it for yourself, but when other people see it, it helps inspire and motivate them.
True.
That's one
Absolutely.
thing I've realized when I've posted stuff on social media. I don't think anybody pays attention, and then people will be like, "Dude, you inspired the crap out of me," and
Exactly.
I'm like, "Really? Like
Yeah.
I do?
Yeah.
Why?"
Yeah.
But no, it's really cool. It's inspiring to other people.
It is. It is. And like I said, even when uh, me pulling up your information and I actually found out through another podcast, and I'm just like, oh, okay, this one is pretty cool. I mean, because you have quite a few podcasts out there, but yours hit home. So I definitely appreciate
Yeah,
you.
absolutely,
Yeah.
man. I love hearing stories of people that those are my favorite stories. People whose life was completely fucked up,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they just completely turned it around. It's
Man,
like because that's one thing I talk about a lot is like you are not your mistakes,
that's
and
true.
a lot of people who are that overweight, they feel like there's no way to overcome that. They feel like that's them forever,
Yeah.
and they don't have to let that be them.
Yeah. I had that same mindset, man. I mean, it was when I first started working out, I never forget walking around the track on crutches.
Wow,
I remember when I first went to the gym and how I was getting into the swimming pool and how they actually lured me into the pool.
wow,
I had to sit in this chair and they lower you in so you can, just start doing some kind of lower movement.
yeah,
And it was tough because, of course, you got the entire gym looking at you, side eyed and things like
right,
that.
right.
So, I mean, you have to block that stuff out. You have to block that stuff out
But
of
for
your
a
mind.
lot of people, that could be crippling.
It could be.
That could be enough for
Yeah.
them to not want to go back.
Yeah. Cause the first time I walked around the track, I literally walked around one time and was like, okay, I'm done. Yeah,
Wow,
I'm done. But the next day, just got up, did it again. I think I did maybe 2 laps. So I just
just
kept,
kept going.
yeah, just a little bit here, a little bit there. I didn't try to overdo it. Um, I had met a couple guys at the mall, a couple guys at the mall that we would meet up at the mall and do, the walking with the seniors and all that. So that was kind of cool. Got, really cool with those guys. And, you see these people every day and they're encouraging you as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Even though I'm on crutches, they're
right.
still by your side.
I watched the video that you sent me, of, all the different people. It was your testimonies, the
Hmm.
people that, it was cool because there were so many of them,
Hmm.
and then they all had something similar to where they met you, like, at the gym,
Yeah.
and they witnessed your transition, and I'm just like, "Man, that's so cool."
Yeah, it
That
was
is
pretty
so
cool.
cool to see.
It's pretty cool. Like I said, and those same people and others, they keep you motivated. They keep you want to go, keep
Yeah,
going and just keep pushing forward.
right.
I don't want to go back. I don't
No.
want to go back. It was too hard. That was a dark time.
Well, what's your quality of life like now compared to how it was then?
Oh man, totally different. Totally different. I can do things now that I couldn't even think about doing. I think I talked about that not too long ago. where my wife's birthday and she wanted to do skydiving.
Mm.
So, we went out to San Diego and did some skydiving. And I was like, I don't know if I'll do that again, but it was her birthday. So I was like, all right, well, cool.
I'll
you
jump
know,
out of a plane and possibly die for your
oh
birthday.
my goodness, man, that was, it was something I could say I could check off my bucket list. I did
Yeah.
it, but I don't think I'd have to do it again. But it was, like I said, it was cool. It was for her birthday.
That's
But
cool.
you think about it. So they weigh you before you get on that plane.
Yeah.
You have to have on all that equipment, and you have to meet the weight before you
What
can
is
get
the
up.
weight limit for that? Do you know?
I want to say it was like 250 or
Okay.
something like that. Yeah, but so between that and between going like zip lining,
Oh
things
yeah.
like that. I've never done anything like that before.
Right.
Man, we went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee with a group of friends, and they convinced me to go zip lining. I was
Wow.
like, man, I'm not getting way up there to go zip lining. And I actually did it. So, and it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. I would do it again.
Very
That
cool.
well, I'll do it again. But
Zip
yeah,
lining's a lot of fun.
that was fun.
My wife and I did that over Niagara Falls.
Okay.
That was pretty cool.
Man, I know that was cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's something I may have to look into that. Yeah.
It's not directly over the falls, it's like beside them, but
Right.
you're still looking at the full falls and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that I had a question, I don't remember what it was now. Oh yeah, one thing that a lot of people who been that severely overweight or have like some sort of disorder or whatever, they always see themselves as that.
Mm.
Have you changed the way you look at yourself and the way you talk to yourself?
Yeah, you have to. You have to. You actually have to see yourself being smaller way before you even get to that point. So I actually saw myself, I'm dreaming, but I actually saw myself being 180, 190.
Oh,
So you
okay.
have to see it first.
Right.
You have to vision it first for it to actually happen. And then you just really have to just trust the process. You have to trust the process that, hey, I don't know how long this is going to take, but I'm going to continue to drink my gallon of water every day. I'm going to continue to go to the gym and work out, and just try to do whatever I can. Slowly but surely, it'll work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll work out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that with anything. You always have to trust the process, and
Mhm.
that I think so many people give up before they see the results because it's too hard, or they just don't see the results, and they're just like, "What's the point?"
Yeah,
And it's like that with anything, and not
it
even just
is.
working out or your fitness. It could be with like some sort of business venture. It could be
True.
with starting a podcast.
True.
I mean, there's thing like doing a podcast is very difficult, and just trying to get your name out there is difficult.
Yeah.
But you just gotta keep going. That's the thing, you just gotta keep going. Show up
Yeah.
every single day.
I mean, even when it comes to, I'm thinking back now as far as even with education, I'm like, man, so even during that time, I was off, couldn't find work. I went back to school. I was like, okay, eventually this is not going to last forever.
Right.
Let me go back to school, went back to school, got my master's. And I'm like, okay,
Where'd you go
let's
to school?
Central Michigan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I went to CMU. So went back to school and completed that course and got my master's, man. And it was tough. It was
Yeah.
tough because again, I'm still on crutches. I'm going to class on
Wow.
crutches,
Wow.
and I never forget. I think I took like even at that time, I took like a nutrition class.
Oh, wow.
And I remember one of the professor at that particular time, she's no longer there now, but she was even after class, she didn't want to say, but again, she wanted to say like, hey, you need to lose weight.
Wow.
You know, so she was putting in so many words, and then she had sent me separate emails that was, not even class related
Oh my
information.
gosh.
So now I was just like, oh
She's just trying
man.
to help you out, give you advice?
She was trying to, but I don't know. She in a way, I was like, all right, lady, I get you. Yeah.
You should
So
reach out to her now.
I know, right?
Send her one of your
Yeah.
books.
Yeah. I might have to do that.
You
I'm gonna
should do
take you
that.
on that.
It'd be cool to hear her side of the story and what she
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
And
I
then
mean, and I'm sure she meant well. I'm sure she meant well. Because like I said, I was at my heaviest.
well, I think I think it's depressing when you see somebody who's that overweight because you wonder like what got them to that point.
Mhm.
What went wrong in your life to where you just became this balloon of a person,
It was huge,
because like
man.
it's it's so easy to be overweight, especially like, you go through the holidays, you go through some family stress or whatever. It's easy to put on weight.
Mhm.
But to allow yourself to get to a certain point, it's like, man, like what went wrong? What happened?
Yeah,
S-
yeah.
Like,
You know, I always refer back to this. One of my neighbors, she saw me and she said, "Eric," and she sees me now, and so she's like, "Eric, when I used to see you walk into the mailbox, and every time I saw you, it made me cringe."
oof.
And I was like, "Oh wow!" Now a lot of times, I mean, I speak to all my neighbors, "Hey, how you doing? Good morning," or whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know her, and she stopped me one day, and when she said that, she was like, "I just want to let you know now that you look great." And when she told me that, I was like, "Man, so people really do be watching you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever you do, any type of moves you make, whatever they really be watching."
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And yeah, I guarantee you she probably tells everybody about it.
Oh yeah, 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 man. I mean, so just to have that type of positive influence after so long of going down that process of going down the road,
Yeah.
it gives other people hope.
Absolutely. I mean, it gives people hope when they don't see the results and they feel like they just want to give up,
Mm.
and they hear your story and they see the path that you've taken, and they're like, "Oh, well, maybe I should trust the process because he's here now."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even at the gym, I think about, of course, this is the beginning of the year, so the gym is just like super crowded.
Right.
Well, actually, now it's just starting to taper off a little bit. I'm like, man, we're not even in February yet. But you can tell January 1st is full. It's starting to taper off a little bit now. So just to try to keep people motivated, hey, let's go. You here now,
Yeah.
the pain you already experienced the pain. Let's get over to this other side,
Right.
you know.
I had a lady on the podcast the other day. She's an owner of Cupie's. It's a burger joint here in Lansing,
Okay,
and she was talking. It's by no means healthy whatsoever,
okay,
but
okay.
it's amazing food.
No, no,
Um,
no vegetarian, vegan options.
they might
Okay,
have something. I don't eat vegetarian
all
or
right, all
vegan,
right.
but I'm sure they have something. But she was talking about how like the first of the year is always difficult because people start eating healthy. They don't come in because they're trying to eat healthier. So,
Yeah.
um, so she has to change the way she orders her food, like
Hmm.
the supply of food. Well, then like she said, it's around the 20th, the 23rd. People just start coming in and cheating on their
Oh
diets
yeah,
and
yeah.
start ordering burgers and hot dogs and all kinds of stuff that's not healthy whatsoever. And so she's like, "Yeah, we're back to normal now."
Yeah, and it doesn't take but a couple meals, you're like, man, okay, well, I'll start on Monday. I'll start again on Monday. And Monday it never comes
It
around.
never
It
comes.
never comes
That's
around.
why
So
when I decide I want to do something, I never say I'm going to start Monday.
right.
I'm going to start today or
Yeah, today.
tomorrow,
Yeah, like let's
depending
go.
depending on what it is.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because if you don't say that you're just going to start doing it, you're not going to do it. You're
It's
putting off you're delaying it.
Yeah, it won't happen.
It won't
It won't
happen.
happen. I've said that to myself so many times. I'm gonna start such and such day, such and such time, and you
Yeah.
know, never happened.
I listened to somebody who's like an Instagram influencer or something talk about how you should use that motivation that you have in that moment
Mhm.
as fire to fuel whatever it is that you're inspired to do in that moment.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds right. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Just to be able to go through and just keep it going. Like I said, continue to keep yourself around positive individuals. uh, Definitely be in a community of individuals that's trying to reach those goals, reach those positive goals that you're trying to get to. Because there are people that's out here
Yeah.
that's trying to get to certain points, either if it's wealth, health, whatever it is,
Yeah.
just trying to reach higher levels.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I think the number one thing, and you talked about it in the very beginning of the podcast, is getting your mind right.
Mm.
That's
Yes,
the number one thing.
that's it, man. I'm telling you, just getting yourself prepared, getting your mind right, even if you have to just sit like I did. for a minute. I never thought I would be off of social media for 2 years.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. That was a long time for me. I used to catch myself driving, and I'd be at a light, and I'm at a light looking at my social media, waiting for the light to change. You know, so I had to catch myself. Like, what are you doing here?
Right,
Like
right.
why are you spending so much time on social media? So I had to pull back. And one of the things that, and even though in my mind I knew I had to pull back from social media, and I'm not telling anybody, be on social media for 2 years. That's how long it took me. But one of the things that got me to that point, I was just like, okay, so once I was off for a week, I was like, okay, let me keep going. And then after that, I watched, I don't know, you may have seen a Netflix series called Social Dilemma.
Yeah, that's scary.
It was scary, but it was like in my mind, I already knew what they were getting ready to say. I knew
Right,
some of the
right.
things that they were talking about. I was like, oh, this is factual.
You could see it in your behavior, the way
Yeah.
people interact on social media and the way you interact specifically with yourself, like on how like because whenever I'm bored, which
Yeah.
is like all the time, you look for like micro dopamine sessions.
Yes.
And it's just like, give me a little hit. Just
Yep.
give me a little hit. And you click on Facebook and then you start scrolling and you're getting that dopamine.
Yeah.
Same thing with Instagram and
Same thing.
everything.
So you see that, and then you see it in young kids when
Yeah.
it comes to social media. A lot of times, I talk to kids sometime over after the weekend. You come back to school on Monday, and I'm like, "Well, what did you guys do? Play video games all weekend?" I'm like, "Man, you got to be kidding me!" Or either on social media for the entire weekend. I'm not saying anything's wrong with social media, but I'm just saying you have to monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to.
Well, social media for young people is scary just in the fact that with the whole bullying thing now
Yeah,
is like when we were kids, like social media, like Facebook was a thing when I was in school,
right,
MySpace, but
right.
like you didn't have access to it the way we have access to it now. People had towards the end of me being in high school had like smartphones, like an
Yeah,
Apple phone or whatever, but like you had to have money to have those kind of things.
right, right.
Now everybody has those. And so if somebody's getting bullied at school, they're also getting bullied at home because it doesn't leave them.
That's true.
And it just continues to go and go and go. And it's like the whole social cred thing.
Yep,
It's scary for
it's
young
scary.
people.
It's scary. Like I said, I see it every day. I see it every day, and just to see so many young kids. I mean, like first grade.
Oh,
Like, oh
wow.
man, some of these first graders and elementary school students, they see and they hear a lot to where I'm like, I didn't hear about this stuff until I was a teenager.
Right. Yeah.
So social media, a lot of that stuff has advanced to these kids now to where, it's like, man, the thought process is advanced,
Right.
you know?
And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing as far as the way the amount of information that they have access to and like the because like I'm just gonna say like my kids, my daughter is 9 and
Okay.
she's a lot smarter than I was when I was 9.
Okay.
Like she knows a lot more like random facts and things about just the world and
Sure.
the way life is because of just watching YouTube
Oh yeah.
videos.
Yeah.
She'll be like, "Dad, did you know this?" I'm like, "How did you know that?" "Oh, I seen it on YouTube." And it's like, is that positive or is that negative? And I think the answer to that is I think it depends on like what kind of content they're watching and what they're absorbing,
Oh, true. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it, it's just scary because you don't know what content they're watching
Yeah, you
or
don't.
absorbing.
And that's why I said, things there's nothing wrong with social media. You just have to monitor,
Right. Right.
which lane do you want to go down? Which lane do you want? And then even with COVID, I mean, so I'm thinking as far as school is concerned, there was a distance between, the teachers and the kids and just having that social interaction.
Yeah.
It made a huge
Were
difference.
you a teacher during that time?
I was.
What was that like?
It was tough. It was tough because we're doing online,
Yeah.
mostly online classes and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was a little tough.
Yeah, that was my daughter had just started kindergarten at that time. And I'm
Okay.
like, man, this is like it was so hard for her because it was her first interaction with being in school and she had to start online.
Yeah.
And it just it's not normal for any kids to have to do school that way.
Yeah. I mean, because they need that social. They need to see their friends.
Yeah.
So even like first thing in the mornings, you don't really try to press the kids as far as having everything structured. Let them kind of mix and mingle for a little bit,
Right.
kind of go in slow
Yeah.
into the classroom slow a little bit so they can feel a little bit freer, and then, they will react to you much better.
Have you noticed anything with like COVID and coming back from COVID, like the social like anxiety or anything like that, like with the students?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I said, you see it every day to where students will, um, just the way that they react to one another. I see a lot of anger.
Mm,
I see a lot of anger. And I also see where sometimes kids just don't know how to play. Like, whatever happened to, I mean, I remember growing up, like, okay, we used to have our arguments and stuff growing up as kids or whatever, but we still knew how to play as kids.
right.
A lot of times what I've seen is kids just they don't know how to play. If you're in gym for an hour, I don't need to see 2 and 3 fights within an hour's time, So, you try to, like I said, just try to be that positive influence to make sure that they go down that right path.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
always going to be some type of issue, some type of hiccup, maybe at home or whatever. You never know what the home life is.
Right.
So when you
Yeah.
come to school, you want to try to make sure that you have that. That's why I go to the gym in the morning before I come. Yeah, before I come to work, I'm at the gym. I'm getting the energy going.
Yep.
So I need that for myself first,
Right.
so I can pass it along.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have your mind right in order
Yes,
for the kids to be receptive of anything that you're teaching them, right?
yes,
I mean, because if they see that you're calm and you're collected and you're willing to just be there for them
yeah,
and you're not focused about anything else in life, all the other angst that you have going on,
right,
then they're more receptive.
exactly, exactly, and they know
Oh yeah, of
it
course.
doesn't. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. These kids are smart, man. Yeah, they're pretty smart. They know how to pick up on things.
I was just thinking the other day, I work at GM
Okay,
and so we had like a substitute boss
okay,
and it was kind of comical to me because it reminded me of when we were in high school when we had a substitute teacher.
okay.
All the kids would take a complete advantage of the fact
Of
that
course,
we had a substitute,
right,
make fun of him, like just mess around.
right.
You knew you could get away with things, and I was witnessing my coworkers doing that to our substitute boss.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, man, it's like we're in
It
high
doesn't
school.
change.
It doesn't
It doesn't
change.
change. You're talking about from high school to being in your career. It doesn't
Right?
change.
No, it does not.
It
No,
doesn't change.
no. A lot of things that happen in like school it's kind of interesting to watch happen in adulthood
Yeah,
because like the mentality of a lot of that's the same and like I don't know, it's interesting.
yeah. That is interesting. Wow.
So you wrote this book. How long did it take you to write the Wait Is Over?
It took forever. No. And as you can see, it's not a big book, but one of the things that took me so long because you have to really sit down and you have to think. And a lot of times it took me down some dark paths. And I'm like, man, so you start writing, and you're typing some things in and then you stop. And they say, it's like 10 days later, and it's like, oh man,
Oh,
okay, I need to pick this thing back up again. But yeah, so it took a little bit longer than expected, but I am starting to work on book number 2. So
really?
yeah.
Now, when you sat down to write the book, what was your process like? Did you take notes?
Yeah,
Well,
I took quite a few notes. I wanted to go back to my early childhood. That's pretty much where I kind of started everything. But yeah, from that process, just took a lot of notes. It just went back from my notes and just, continue to move forward and write. And then, like I said, you start, you stop, you start, you stop, and you start thinking of other things. And you're like, oh, okay, I can put this in here. This is what happened, during this time period or during this era. As I was growing up as a kid, I was always into sports.
mm,
So, I definitely included, the Detroit Tigers. I was a big baseball fan. So, just different things that you think about during that process of writing a book. So yeah, it was longer than expected, but I'm glad it was done because it's been a blessing to not just myself, but for others to read it as well.
I could imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, again, that the 550 pounds losing over 550 pounds is an insane thing to do.
Yeah, man. I feel great
Like,
though.
that's like, 3 of me.
Yeah, it's like I said, it was a process, but I'm just glad that I was able to go through that pain because it was painful
Yeah.
to go through that pain and just to come out on the other side to be able to do things that I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it's gotta be, like, almost like you're a different person.
Yeah, it is. It is,
Yeah.
mentally, physically, spiritually, you just feel totally different, you know.
Did you feel like you lost your identity a little bit and, like, you had to kind of rediscover who you were as a person?
I did. Just always I've always been like that kind of energetic type of person. So you're going through, it's tough, man. You don't have that energy. You don't have that energy. You're depressed the
Mm.
majority of the time. Just that pain, the pain. And like I said, both knees had to be replaced, left hip, then they had to go back in.
Was that due to the weight?
That was due to the weight. Yeah,
Wow.
just so much pressure being on my joints. And they had to go back in for emergency surgery because I
Oh.
had an infection.
Oh my gosh.
So it was just a lot. It was a lot, but I'm thankful to be able to get through that, and you know, been able to share ever since then.
That's awesome. So what is your goal with sharing your story? Obviously, you're doing podcasts,
Yeah,
you've done a couple of podcasts, and then you wrote a book and you do public speaking.
yeah.
Where do you do your public speaking at? What
Um,
kind of events
well,
do you
right
do?
now, I'm really trying to get into more universities.
Okay.
Really trying to get into more universities, and then also to just to be able to speak to those who are even thinking about going through either some type of surgery, to go through that surgery, and just to get them to think, because it took me 2 or 3 years just to make that decision.
Wow.
Yeah, because it wasn't an easy decision. Like I said, and you want to make sure that you're doing it with the right person.
Yeah.
That person has the right spirit. Like, hey, like this is my life,
Right.
and that's how I had to think about it. I'm like, this is. I was at that point to where either I'm gonna live, I'm gonna die. I mean, I'm like 5'8", five
Yeah.
hundred and something pounds. That's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
It's a lot of weight. So, um,
Prior to having the surgery, did you have anybody talk to you about like your heart condition or being concerned about any of your organs or anything like
well,
that?
the good news was, even though I was on blood pressure medicine, but I wasn't diabetic.
Mm.
So
Wow.
yeah, I know, right? That was good. So I mean, of course, I continuously went to my doctor regularly. I had to, just to make sure that, um, even with the high blood pressure, I was like on 5 different blood pressure medicines,
Wow.
and so just to have that cut down to like a half a tablet,
Wow.
a day it feels great. It feels
Wow.
great. I mean, because even with that being said, when you're taking all those different types of medications, you don't feel the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't feel the same as an individual.
I could imagine.
Yeah,
I mean, you're almost reliant on
yeah,
those things.
yeah. And then I had, going through the whole sleep apnea. I think I slept on the couch for like 2 years. I wore a CPAP machine. So it was tough. It was
So
tough.
I wanted to pull up your website.
Okay,
Um, this is your website where people can buy your book, correct?
that's correct.
Wow, that's you.
That's me, man. Yeah, and even right there on that picture, I was on crutches. I think I had set the crutches to the side because I never liked to take.
Okay.
I never liked to take pictures with crutches.
Yeah.
I really didn't like to take pictures at all. But yeah, even that one, the crutches were set on the side. And even when I graduated from my master's, we were taking pictures, and those crutches were like on the ground. Yeah, I didn't want people, because I didn't want people to think that, man, I feel bad for them.
Yeah, it's like
So
it's like it symbolizes something.
right, right. So yeah, that's me. That's me, man.
That
And
is
even just
insane.
looking at the picture, in your mind, you still think like, man, This is
does it feel like you're looking at a different person?
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
insane.
yeah. It does. It does. You know, you try to
Wow.
be energetic and you try to do things that are different and it was tough, man. It was tough. It was tough getting in and out of the car, you know.
I could imagine.
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah, dude, you look great.
oh man, thank you. And I'm still trying to get to a certain point to where I can continue on. Like I said, just really just trying to move on, move forward, keep it moving, and
Yeah,
keep it to where I can stay at a point to maintaining in a positive way.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Now what is your goals now? Like, I mean, obviously your goal was to shed the weight.
Mhm.
You shed the weight. So what is your goal now? Obviously you're maintaining. So do you want to, like, do you have any aspirations to do anything like crazy, like a marathon or?
Well, I've done like some 5Ks. I haven't done a marathon.
Okay.
I've done a few 5Ks, trying to hit the weights a little bit, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, I've been doing that a little bit more so.
What does your workout routine look like?
Usually my workout routine starts like the elliptical for a few minutes, do the elliptical, then I do the ropes for a little bit, um, do some weights, and then I do the track.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my normal everyday routine. Now on Saturdays I swim.
Okay.
So I swim first thing Saturday morning and make sure I get that done. Yeah, and then which of that part has been pretty fun too. You know, get back because
Swim.
I grew up swimming.
Okay.
Yeah, and I stopped, and so just getting back into that is kind of
Swimming is such good exercise.
it is.
I mean, it's easy on your joints and I mean, it's better than a lot of cardio,
Yeah,
other cardio that you could possibly do.
yeah, it is. I need to start doing a little bit more. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't think I could swim for an extended period of time without being winded.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's work.
Yeah.
It's
It's a lot
definitely
of
a lot
work.
of work. It's a lot of work, but you know, like I said, it doesn't put a lot of pressure
Right.
on your joints, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you done anything like sauna or cold plunge or anything like that?
No, I mean, you know, as far as like in the gym, they have like a sauna that you just kind of sit in with.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much like the extent of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious because I'm actually working on a cold plunge right now. Like,
Okay.
I'm building a cold plunge, and
Wow. Wow.
what I want is it to be a part of an experience to do the podcast.
Okay.
So like people like yourself can come do a cold plunge,
Oh, that'll be sweet.
maybe have a gym here too, so we could
Okay.
work out and then do a podcast together.
Now that would be sweet.
I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
One thing I realize, and this can apply to anybody. You don't have to do a podcast, but like when you do something difficult with somebody,
Mm.
you build this bond.
Right.
It's crazy. You build a bond, and it's like almost like a brotherhood or a sisterhood, whatever, whoever it is,
Right.
and it develops some sort of relationship.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I've done runs with people before, and then we did the podcast, and I'm like, man, this is like you have this bond now
Yeah,
because you struggle together,
man. Yeah,
and I would love to do that for the podcast. Like
yeah, that'll be sweet. Whatever you
I,
do, let me know.
yeah,
I'd
you'll
love to
come
come
back.
back. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool though.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah.
Um, I had a guy who he this was like over a year ago. He came from Wisconsin
Mm.
to do the podcast.
Okay.
But I met him at an event I had went to, and he wanted to do my podcast, so he came for the weekend. And with him, like we ended up hanging out for the day. We went to the park, walked around the trail, um, had lunch,
Okay.
breakfast, whatever. We hung out, and then we did workouts together every single day. And then we ended up doing the podcast, and it was just a completely different vibe.
Oh wow.
It's just like because we know each other at this point. Now we're just like, let's get into the nitty gritty of your story.
Right. Right.
I don't know. It was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you bond together, especially when you're doing, you guys are both on that same page.
Yeah,
It does. It creates a bond. It
absolutely.
does. It does. It creates a bond to where you can. Hey, we friends now. We you know this. We've been down this road, so
Right.
let's keep it growing.
Well,
It's that community.
yeah, absolutely.
It's that community.
And he said something to me too, like when we were out running one day. I was like, man, I wish I could do this with every guest. And
Mm,
he's like, why not? I'm just like, nah, that's not realistic.
right. Right.
But then I'm like, why not? why shouldn't I do that with every guest?
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
So that definitely nudged me. Oh, I need to come back.
Absolutely. And you're writing a second book. So what is the second book about?
And the second book is really going to be more so of a follow up from this book. Just kind of give you an update from that point to where I left off to what's going on now. Things like,
Okay.
doing the podcast, things like doing different events, speaking events, things of that nature. So that's where I am now.
One thing I would be interested to read, and I don't know if you talk about, I'm sure you talk about it in your book, but is like maintaining the mindset. Because
Yes,
like
yes.
I feel like um I feel like that's got to be the most difficult thing for somebody who had like, I don't know if you had like an eating disorder, but like maintaining the mindset of not falling back into the pattern that you had been in. And obviously a lot of that, you know, is because of your dedication to fitness and
Yeah.
not wanting to go back, but it's like, how do you maintain that?
Yeah, you really have to, like I said, you have to be in that community of individuals that will keep you motivated, and you have to stay consistent. You have to stay consistent. You have to literally, like I said, be in that community to where hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is my daily routine, and this is what I'm going to stick with. Especially if it's working,
Mhm.
it's working. Other
Yeah.
people know that it's working. Might as well just stick with it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Just being that in that community involved, being able to speak on things that things that you've been through, other people speaking things that they've been through.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to stay involved in that manner.
Do you have any aspirations to like do a podcast yourself?
I do.
Yeah.
So when we talked before air, that was one of the things that has crossed my mind. Actually, a few times I've actually had other people tell me, "Look, you need to go ahead and start one."
You should.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
was going to tell you next.
Okay, hey, I'm about to take you up on it. So when I do start mine, then I have you on mine.
Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
no, we'll actually have to talk because
Yeah,
I know a lot of people who want to do a podcast or are starting a podcast, and I'm like, we need to like somehow develop like a network
yeah,
of like for us podcasters, us creators to be able to help promote each other and just like grow and like, I don't know, because like we're not competing against each other. We're
right,
doing our own thing,
right.
but it's like how do we help each other
Mhm.
like find guests and promote all these things.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so I definitely would love to venture off into that.
What would you call it? Or you probably shouldn't say.
Yeah,
Somebody might steal
not yet. Right.
it.
Yeah, not yet, not yet.
Would it be like this type of topic?
Yeah,
Like,
it would definitely be based off of just a continuation part of the wait
okay,
is over. Yeah,
cool. And like interview style?
interview style. Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah, yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
I'm excited to see your journey, man. I mean, this is already incredible. It's more than what a lot of people accomplish in life,
Man,
and it's inspiring.
yeah, thank you so much, man. It's been a blessing. It's really been really good too, man. When you see, again, like I said, you see other people, and then you get the Mary Livonia. She came out to
Wow.
support, and just to see people of they just people that you wouldn't even think that will come out and support, your dream.
Yeah.
Is pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when you decide that I'm fed up and then I'm going to not be that person anymore and I'm just going to do this.
That's right. That's right.
And
And
then
then when you just cut everything off, like I don't care what anybody says about me. I don't care if I continue to get the stares or whatever. I'm just going to keep moving forward.
yep.
So when you get to that point in your life and your back is against the wall, that's when you step up.
Well, I mean, and especially like for somebody who's like that overweight and then you're in the gym and you're getting those stares,
Oh yeah.
it's like people are staring because I mean, maybe they're judging you, but eventually those judgment looks are going to become looks of like impressed. Like those people are going to be impressed.
It's funny.
They'll probably come up to you and be like, dude, I've been watching
Yeah.
you. Like, this is amazing.
It's funny that you say that because I remember when I first got on the track and people used to pass me up. It would be they would pass me up 3, 4 times, and I'm only just getting one lap in, and I look at the same people now, and as a matter of fact, I had a guy just tell me a couple of days ago. He was like, "I can't even keep up with you," So I can't even keep up with you, and I'm like, man, hey, but like I said, you get around people like that every day, and you get into that routine, and
Yeah.
people are they're watching you, and they're inspiring me, and I'm inspiring them at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that goes again back to the community that you mentioned. You have to have a community. No
Yes.
matter what it is and whatever your goal is, you have to find somebody or find people in that community that are willing to help inspire and keep you moving
That's
and
true.
set goals.
Set goals. Yeah, you definitely have to set the goals and set them. Set them high. Set
Right.
them high so you can reach those goals and go on to another goal.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to mention on the podcast?
Man, I definitely appreciate this time, and I'm looking
Absolutely.
forward to coming back and to venture off into other podcasts so I can have you on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, if you need help with anything, just let me
Yeah.
know. I mean, I try to help people as much as I can. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna take you up on it.
yeah, so hopefully the next time you come back, your second book will be out, and then
Yes.
you would have had started a podcast.
Hey.
My goal for you.
All right. I'm gonna shoot for it. I'm gonna shoot for that goal.
All right. Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for doing the podcast. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. Take care.
All right.